Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an excellent day today. It's Daryl here, and yesterday was a very interesting day at the studio. I ended up picking up this Stratocaster neck. Now this is a really unique neck. This is what I believe to be a mid-80s Strat neck made in Japan that's been scalloped. Now last time I made an impulse purchase like this, things quickly got out of hand and I ended up with this guitar. It started off its life as a non-functioning Affinity Strat. Somebody had pulled the frets off of it, so it was fretless, but they just butchered the fingerboard. It was a terrible job. So what we did is we repaired the fingerboard, got the neck playing perfectly, put some flat wounds on it, and just had some fun on a fretless guitar. Then we reliced it, then we ripped it apart for science and did a tone test, and then I put it all back together. So it's been quite a journey and definitely got some interesting feedback. So where's the scalloped Strat neck going to lead us? Well, I'm not quite sure yet, but I know we're going to have some fun along the way. All right, so let's take a closer look at this neck, see if we can nail down exactly what this thing is. Now the first clue is on the front of the headstock. Now as you guys can see, it's the Fender Stratocaster gold logo, but there is no serial number underneath. So that's not going to help us. But look at all the holes. This is the first clue. This is where the locking nut was. So in the mid-80s, Fender, the Japanese Fenders were, floating trem locking nut. Now, lots of guys, that just drove them bonkers, so they just pulled it off. Now, I did a quick search on Reverb and online, and guys who have the original 80s locking nuts, they're selling them for $250, $300. So that's not going to be happening. I mean, I like this neck and stuff, but I'm not going to be, dumping that into this. But if anyone has sort of an off-brand, something for $40 or $50, drop a link in the video or let me know, because it would be cool to kind of restore it back to its original form, but not for that kind of money. Now the second clue is on the back of the headstock. Again, it's not branded at all, totally plain, just like the front, other than the Fender logo. But if we look a little closer, I don't know how far I can get this camera to zoom in and stay focused, but anyway, it says Fender Japan on the back of the tuning machines. And as you can see, they're different than, the Mexican-American ones that we're used to. They have 2 pins to locate the tuning machine, and here you can see there is a screw on each one of the tuning machines to keep it in place. So that sort of, gives us the big hint that this might be a Japanese neck. Now the third clue is on the back of the heel joint. Let's take a look. Now, most guitars made in Japan will say crafted in Japan or made in Japan right here. Again, it's plain. So, no serial number, no country of manufacture on the front or the back or here. Now, normally this would, those are the 3 places to look. If you don't have that, then you got to do some more searching. Thankfully, we do have, oh, I should flip it around here. Let me flip it around. We've got a stamp. We've got ST562, and then what looks to be a Z maybe there. So just looking online, definitely is a mid-80s Japanese made neck. So honestly, that's pretty cool, and when you combine it with the scallop neck, you really get something unique. So what exactly is a scalloped fingerboard? Well, let's grab the camera, zoom in, and take a closer look. So what exactly is scalloping? Well, it's simply removing the fingerboard between the frets. So when you play, your fingers never actually contact the fret. So very, very interesting. Guys like Malmsteen and Richie Blackmore really made it popular. I believe Steve Vai did some scalloping way up on his upper frets. Because I've read that it can be quite challenging to keep your chords in tune when you scallop a fingerboard, but in terms of lead playing and legato and bending, it's just amazing. So we're going to find out, but yes, this is what a scalloped fingerboard is. The guy I bought it from said it was done professionally. It does seem to be quite even and quite nice, but these definitely don't seem to be the original frets either. They seem to be, really wide jumbo type frets. I'm just going to grab a regular Strat and let's compare. So I think we can definitely say the scallop neck has had a refret. Much more jumbo frets than on the American Professional here that's below it. So yeah, the seller didn't mention that, but as soon as I got it, I definitely could tell they're much wider frets than the medium jumbo on a Fender. So that's interesting, but let's yeah, check the quality of the fret job out. All right, so we've got the neck on the desk here, and there are a few areas of concern. Let's check them out. Now, the first thing is there's a lot of other holes other than just the locking nut. So I'm going to pull that string tree off, and let's take a look at, what exactly has been happening to this neck over time. Because there's a few little weird things here. So let's just pull that off. There we go. So let's take a closer look up at the headstock. Now, I don't know if you guys can see there, but there's two pins or screws that looks like they were just sheared right off, and they're parallel. And I cannot for the life of me figure out what that is. Now, these two holes, if I can get it right here on the camera, this one there and this one there, those were for string trees. And obviously one is missing, but they included one. Now, next to those two string tree holes, which line up properly, there's those two, other metal, I don't know, screws or pins that have been sheared off. If anyone knows what that is, let me know, but it looks really terrible, and getting those out is going to be a massive pain. Because, honestly, I'd like to remove them and then just like wood fill, but man. So that's the first really weird thing about the headstock. Now, the fret ends themselves actually look quite nice. They've been rounded off and polished and look really good. Now, I don't know how much confidence I have in this, refret job, but I've got to say the fret ends are really nice and smooth. So, that's great. And, the scalloping looks really good too. So, there's a couple of positive signs, but I think what we're going to do first is just see if we can straighten the neck, make sure the truss rod still works. So I'm going to use my straight edge here on the 25.5-inch section, which is for Stratocasters. Now, normally what you would do is put this on the fingerboard and straighten your fingerboard. With the scallop, we can't do that. We have to go on top of the frets, and this will just ballpark it because I haven't checked that, if there's any high or low frets or anything, which I should do. But yeah, so there is a bow in the middle, definitely. So let's put the truss rod in and see if we can eliminate that bow and straighten out the neck. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to do this. Oh, it definitely turns. Okay, so let's start there. See what that did. Now, I don't know if I want to play it totally flat or leave a little relief, but I'm going to make it totally flat because when the strings go on it, it will naturally give us a little bit of relief. So I think that should be enough. I'll move the camera and show you guys in a second here. Yeah, that's looking really good. All right, so right in the middle here, we're looking at 9th fret and 7th fret where you'd see a lot of relief. And as you can see, above the fret to the straight edge is basically flat. So we've got the neck really nice and flat, and then when we put some strings on, we might need to readjust. But for now, that gets us in a good spot. Now, as for the back of the neck, I've got to say a few things about it. It's got a really nice satin finish. There are a few dings in it, nothing too deep that will affect playability or anything like that. But really what I want to say is about the profile. Now, if you've ever played like a mid-80s Squire, which is really the only thing I had for reference, this guitar neck has that same profile, which is thinner than a modern C. So it really plays very nice. I'll put my hand in the shot just for perspective or whatever. So it is a little bit thinner than your modern C, but if you like that, that old 80s Fender profile, this neck would be like heaven for you. It is really, really nice. So that's awesome. Love the profile, love the satin finish. Now, one other area of concern has to do with the fret job. Like I said, the frets are nice and shiny. They did a great job on the ends. Everything looks really good. But some of the frets are not sitting flat on the fingerboard, most notably with the 22nd fret here. But you can see it on some of the other ones too. It's almost like there's like a little bit of a gap between the fret and the fingerboard. Now, obviously, I don't have a fret press, so I can't just put the neck in and pull a lever and seat them again. So I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, there you can really see it there. You can see the shadow. Anyway, so I'm not sure exactly how to reseat those. Now, it's not on all of them, but definitely some of them. So I don't know if you guys have ideas of how I can maybe reseat some of them. That would be awesome. Now, maybe it's not going to be a problem at all. Maybe I'll put strings on and it'll play just perfectly and I never have to worry about it. But it is something that I noticed on this neck. Now when it comes to scalloping a neck, there's a few different ways to do it. Now on this neck, it's like the Malmsteen scallop, where it is scalloped from 6th string to 1st string, and from 1st fret all the way up to 22nd fret, all of it scalloped. So when you play, I mean, I haven't played it yet, but in theory, you shouldn't feel the fingerboard at all, and you just play with a really light touch, and it should help you, in theory, with your speed, with your bending, with your legato, all that kind of stuff. Now, Ritchie Blackmore is a little different. On his thick strings, like 6, 5, and 4, there's almost no scallop. So he can really dig in and play power chords and stuff without bending the notes too much. And then on his thinner strings, when he's soloing, doing lead work and all that kind of stuff, you don't feel the fingerboard and you just have the freedom to kind of cruise around. So that's a really interesting way of doing it. And I think Vi has a model where it's a traditional fingerboard all the way up to the highest frets, and then just the highest frets are scalloped. So, you know, when he goes way up here to bend, the fingerboard doesn't catch his fingers. He can just, you know, have the freedom to bend up. So definitely a few different ways to scallop a fingerboard. So my next steps with this neck is to take some fret polishers. This is Hosco, again, made in Japan. We're gonna go and polish up each one of the frets, just make sure it's mirror finished. We're gonna take some high grit sandpaper and just clean off the fingerboard, any gunk from previous players, which is really gross. If there's gunk, I want it to be my own, and just smooth everything out. It's a pretty good job, I've gotta say. But anyway, I'm just going to smooth it out, clean it, and then I'm going to take the fret end file, which is also Hosco, made in Japan, really good stuff. I showed you guys how to use these tools on the Jazzmaster build set, so if you want to know how to use this, I show in great detail. So just search up building a Jazzmaster on the channel, and I'll link to these tools as well because they're super handy. Some of the upper frets I'm just going to dress a bit. So that's the next step for me. We're going to do that off camera, and then we'll be back with another video where we can kind of flesh out what we want to do with this neck. But that's the next step, just get it all playing properly and check the individual fret heights in case there's high or low frets. So that's an overview of this neck, really interesting. I'm not sure what I've gotten myself into, but like the, you know, fretless guitar, it was a lot of fun to experiment, and I certainly gained a ton of respect for people who play fretless because that was tough. Like I had to concentrate so hard just to play the most basic melodies. So I'm not sure how this is going to be, but it's going to be interesting. One idea I have is maybe we should do like a build series where we use this neck and do like an old school original 80s super strat. So I'm talking like the guys like Blackmore and Malmsteen, where they took like vintage strats, did mods like this, souped them up with like noiseless single coils and just rocked. And I mean, they used like 70s necks on them. You know, really 7 1/4 radius, you know, vintage tuning machines, vintage colors. They looked like vintage guitars, but they were like the original modders. So maybe we should do something like that. I think that would be cool. Just do like a little bit of a tribute, old school original super strat. But if you guys have ideas of, you know, what you'd like to see me do with this neck, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear your ideas. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I'll let you know each step of the way what I'm thinking about this project and what kind of mods I want to do. But anyway, like I said before, give me some ideas in the video description below. That'd be awesome. You can check out the t-shirt store here and tab store, all that stuff in the video description below as well. Have yourself a great week. Hopefully this will be an awesome project.